You got designer shades just to hide your face. Your life, I believe, is the printout of your beliefs.
How does one just start rapping? I don't understand that.
Dude, this is the moment. You know, Kanye West is listening to my song.
So not only are you a super talented musician.
It was a trip. I was living a double life. That could have doused my dreams, but it ignited them.
That takes work.
Mike Posner, P-O-S-N like Nancy, E-R.
I'm so excited to do this, dude. I get pumped to talk to people that have lived a lot of life in condensed periods of time. I feel you're one of those people, right? Like some of the experiences you've had in a short window, like those get crammed over very long, but you crammed a lot early. To start, I know many people are already aware of who you are and what you do, but childhood, like what background, where did you grow up? How did you grow up? Were you called to music always, or was this something you kind of fell into?
I grew up, I was born in Detroit, Michigan. Both my parents were born in Detroit. I grew up in a city called Southfield, which borders Detroit. It's mostly black, middle-class city. I had a great childhood, man. We had a little crew of boys. They're all my age on my street. We'd ride bikes, play basketball, play video games, and eventually started rapping. So that's how I grew up. I love where I grew up.
It's just normal.
No, I mean, it's my normal.
Yeah. But like happy childhood.
It was nothing externally that was wrong. But yeah, when I was a teenager, I was very unhappy. Very unhappy.
Why do you think that is?
I think partly genetic, ancestral. I think that's in my lineage for sure. Parents, grandparents. Partly the environment. Michigan, I don't know if you ever spent time in Detroit, but in the winter, it's pretty darn gray and the days are very short. And the way our school was set up, you know, I'd go to school in the dark and I'd leave in the dark. So I would go months without seeing the sun. You know, I think that didn't help things.
You couldn't do that one. There's no way.
People don't talk about how, I mean, you are right now, but people don't talk about how hard that is to live somewhere where it's dark a lot.
Yeah. And then when it was late, I was inside. And I mean, I look back on my, things now as an adult, the things I was eating, like I would eat 6 bowls of cereal a day.
Yeah.
And like, I'm lactose intolerant, so I was just eating sugar and milk, so I was like, and I wasn't asleep. I'd go to bed late every night, get up for school. So I mean, it really wasn't like setting myself up for success with, things I know now that are kind of foundational and baseline for.
What was your cereal?
I would eat, what was it? I would eat Cracklin' Oat Bran.
Okay. I remember that one. That was a good one.
Granola.
Yeah?
With or without raisins.
Okay.
That was the main one. That would have
No Lucky Charms?
No, that was like when I was really little. I would eat that. Yeah, I would eat that. But all those cereals, they're like just so much. It's just all sugar.
Yeah.
It's basically like a full-on dessert.
Yeah.
We still give it to our kids.
You mentioned that you started rapping, and you said it was your normal, but to me, how does one just start rapping? I don't understand that.
I had this great friend named Ronnie. He's since passed away, so rest in peace, Ronnie. But he always had a scheme. Like we would hang out, and he always had something we were gonna do. Like, hey, today we're gonna do this, and sometimes they'd be like legal things, and sometimes not. But one night he was like, "Hey, man, like we're gonna freestyle tonight," and so we like went in our parents' CD collections, and we found albums that had tracks on them with no words, and we just brought them together and we started rapping. And I remember in the basement, and I just knew right when I started doing it, I'm never gonna stop doing this.
So it's like a prodigy.
And I haven't, so I just knew that was my thing. I didn't know that it was gonna be my vocation, like that I could get paid for it, but I knew I would do it the rest of my life.
So at what point do you start the momentum of your career? How does that start?
A lot later.
Okay.
So I started, I'm like 8, years old when I started writing raps and
Wow, that's
and
young.
Holy
writing songs. And yeah, they weren't very good, you know, because I was just starting. And it took me really about 12 years of just making music to make something that anyone cared about.
And at the time in that space, in that era, like how would one get discovered if you wanted to be discovered?
That was an interesting question because at the time I was condense a lot of life into a few sentences. So start rapping at 18, I meet Big Sean.
Okay, wow.
And we're the same age. And Sean knows Kanye. I go to college at Duke University. Sean has a scholarship to Michigan State. Kanye says, don't go to college. You're going to be a rapper. But I go to college. Sean doesn't. Sean then signs a record deal. And when Sean signs a record deal, something clicked in my brain. And I go, I can do that too. Because my buddy did it. And I knew I was like, my talent was comparable to his. So I started working and I'm in college at the time. And I was making music where I had begun putting melodies to my raps. I was essentially singing raps now, but singing in such a way that as a hip hop fan, I would like it. Like I was somebody who pretty much listened mostly to rap, but I was like, this is how a rapper would want a singer to sing. And I was putting complex rhyme schemes, polysyllabic rhyme schemes into the singing. So like my first song that became popular was a song called Cooler Than Me. And it goes, you got designer shades just to hide your face. So shades and face don't rhyme, but designer and hider also rhyme. So right, there's 3 syllables that rhyme. So this is like rapper stuff, but I'm putting melody to it, right?
But it's when you explain it that way, it's more complex than people maybe would think.
Correct. And most pop songs aren't written that way.
Mm-hmm.
Now some of them are, but not really. It's kind of like putting a little rap trick into a pop song. So I was sort of like treading this line where I was both a hip hop artist, kind of, but kind of like a pop artist. And I was at school. I was at Duke University, and I knew my stuff would react on like hip hop blogs. Your question was, how would you get your career start at that time? At that time, if you were a rapper, you would try to get on these series of blogs. One was called Two Dope Boys, Nah Right. These were influential hip hop blogs if you were really into hip hop. And I knew I needed to get my stuff on there. But a funny thing happened while I was in the dorm room. I would always stay in from the parties because the dorms were always loud, except for 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. when everyone else would go out and they'd go to party and be dead quiet in the dorms. And that's when Mike Posner would record his songs because it was quiet. So I'm like, all nights my friends are going out. They're giving me a hard time. Man, you're lame. You never go out. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And I go down the hall one day into my friend Xander's room. And he goes, dude, you know, I just want to tell you, yesterday we were at the party and your song came on, because I had MySpace. And he goes, your song came on and all the girls knew the words.
Whoa.
And I said, well, that you know, I've been doing it 12 years. I said, that never happened before. And he goes, and they played it twice in a row. I said, whoa. I go back down the hall to my room and my phone rings. It's my mom. My mom is a Detroit hard rock. She tells the truth. She doesn't exaggerate. You don't have to imagine how she's feeling because she'll tell you. She doesn't placate. I answer that phone call and she goes, Michael, I heard that song Cooler Than Me on your MySpace and I really like it. Michael, my jaw hits the floor because I've been making music 12 years. My mom always supported me, paid for studio time, got me music lessons, but she never told me she liked one of my songs. So I'm like, okay, that's weird. These white girls at Duke like my song. My mom likes the song. And then the next day, Sean calls me. He goes, yo, man, that Cooler Than Me song, he goes, that sounds like a hit song to me. And that's not even in my like in my realm of possibilities a hit song. I'm just a college student, like, but now I'm hearing the white girls at Duke, my mom, and Big Sean all love the same song. So
Like
I go,
a wide range of.
correct. So now I'm going, okay, I need to get my music not only on these hip hop blogs, I need to get it in a place where people who aren't into hip hop and aren't going on these weird sites and pirating music can hear it. And so at the time, the safest place to get music, still is a safe place, was iTunes. But the problem was, it was 2009. And so people my age, we didn't buy music. We stole it.
Yeah.
We stole it.
Those were the days. Just ruin the family computer with whatever you were downloading.
Correct. So I go, okay, like no one's buying Kanye's music or Jay-Z's music that I know. So they're damn sure not going to buy my music because they don't know who I am. So I found this loophole. It was a thing called iTunes U. And if this is boring, we can skip over it.
I'm obsessed.
We love
Keep
it.
going.
No, we love it.
So there was a thing called iTunes U, and it was made for professors to put up their lectures for free. So they would put up.
I never knew what that thing was for. I would see it all the time on
It
their
was just
computers.
boring.
Yeah.
You know, it was like some dude talking about, it was like
It was like literally a podium symbol, right?
Yeah, it was like a film, like footage of a classroom. It was like a class. And so I found the guy who ran iTunes U for Duke. And this is where maybe fate comes in. His name was Todd Stabley. I get on the phone with Todd. I say, hey, Todd, my name's Mike Posner. And we start talking. I said, I really want to get my album on iTunes U. I'm a student. And so I'm hoping it can qualify to be educational and it could go on there. And he goes, oh, well, we start talking. He goes, where are you from? I said, I'm born in Detroit. Like I just told you, I'm from Southfield, Michigan. He goes, I'm from Southfield, Michigan. I would gladly put your album on iTunes U.
You still keep in touch with him?
No, I haven't talked to him for years.
Pretty cool though.
Yeah, but he put it on there, and then it like really expanded. And my buddies that I went to school with, they all sent the link to their friends that were at different colleges. We all changed our Facebook profile photos to the album cover. And I would ask my friends that I went to high school with that were at different colleges to share with all their friends. And within a few months, I'd get emails, offers like, hey, can you like play this bar in Dayton, Ohio, or play this fraternity party, and we'll pay $500 or $700. And I'd go, and they wouldn't be big shows. They'd be like 50 people, but everyone there knew all the words to my music, to that album, that mixtape.
It's gonna be a trip.
It was a trip. And then I was living a double life. So I'd go to school during the week, and then I'd play Thursday, Friday, Saturday concerts at college. And I'd go back the second time, go back to Dayton, there'd be 300 people there. I'd go back the third time, be 3,000.
So how fast does it really start going? Like, I mean, from the time where that gets discovered to the time where thousands of people are showing up?
It's like, it depends what demarcation lines you choose, like 12 years or, 12 months. But from me releasing Cooler Than Me to me getting a record deal was probably 9 months, a year.
It happens quick.
Yeah.
You went to Duke.
I did.
Duke is not an easy school to get into. So I feel like there's another little aspect of this I need to dissect. So not only are you a super talented musician, you're also really smart. I feel like you have to have like gnarly grades and marks and all kinds of shit to get into Duke. Am I right about that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably fair to say.
It's not an easy school to get into.
No.
So,
I studied pretty hard in high school and in college.
So you're real smart too.
Book smart.
No, you can
smart in some ways. Other ways, I'm not as gifted.
You can tell you have a lot of retention. You want to know why I know that? Because we start ask you a question and then you go on a whole story, and then but you come back and you can repeat the question back to me. And I talk to a lot of people all the time. Not a lot of people can do that. That means that you're able to retain a lot of stuff and connect words quickly.
Thank you.
So there's a lot of processing up there.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think you could do. I always believe that people that can string those raps, those words together. Like you have to be processing at a certain speed, right? Like you can't, because in order to connect it and make it all sound right and make it rhyme, and also make sure that the context of the words make sense together, that requires a lot of quick thinking.
Yeah. And you can develop it, like I don't freestyle that much anymore. But when I do it, you get better at it with time.
Air sculpt. I had the best experience with air sculpt. As you guys know, I lost 60 pounds post baby, and I work out literally 7 days a week. I'm walking, I'm moving, I'm eating lots of protein, I'm doing all the things, but I just wanted something to give me a little bit of refinement. And I decided to get my jawline area, not on my face, but like right underneath. There was a little bit of stubborn fat there. And then I also decided to do my arms, and I am so glad I did. Air sculpt is the move. Air sculpt was invented in 2012 by celebrity cosmetic surgeon Dr. Aaron Rollins. He's been on the podcast before. He's also been on my Instagram story. He is a genius. Over 60,000 people have enjoyed the air sculpt difference, including obviously yours truly. Essentially, air sculpt is a minimally invasive body contouring procedure designed to get rid permanently of stubborn body fat in one session. So I went in and it was done in 1 day. It was amazing. No needles, no scalpels. There's not stitches. It's all while you're awake. And the procedure is so gentle that they can even take your natural fat and use it to enhance your boobs, your butt, your face, as opposed to implants or synthetic dermal fillers. I did not move any fat. I just took it out. So I took it out underneath, like I said, kind of like my neck area and my arms. And the best part is you're back to your daily routine in under 48 hours. AirSculpt is inviting all TSC listeners to get $1,000 off an AirSculpt procedure. Wow. When they complete their consultation virtually or in person, simply go to airsculpt.com/skinny to find out more. That's airsculpt.com/skinny. Terms and conditions apply.
The Skinny Confidential Him and Her podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. If you've been listening to this show for a while, you're probably doing all the things. You're probably taking care of your body. You're probably eating the right things, taking the right supplements. But one thing we neglect all the time at our detriment is our mental health. Stress can absolutely kill you. Stress makes everything harder to do. It makes your sleep worse. It makes your hormones imbalance. And a lot of times we have stress because we carry too much inside and we don't talk nearly enough about our feelings and our thoughts and our ideas. This is why Lauren and I love BetterHelp so much. So many high performers have come on this show and talked about the benefits of therapy, just sharing their ideas with someone else, a professional on the other end, to just walk through all your thoughts and make sure that you're thinking about them the right way, or at least in the most productive way possible. What we love about BetterHelp is BetterHelp brings therapy straight to your home from the comfort of your house, and it's all affordable and accessible from wherever you consume digital content. What we also love about BetterHelp is you can get paired with a licensed therapist and also change that therapist at any time for any reason, no extra cost associated. So if you've been thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, like I said, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Therapy is a safe space to get things off your chest and to figure out how to work through whatever's weighing you down. So get it off your chest with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/skinny today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/skinny. BetterHelp.com/skinny. Quick break to talk about Serve Pro. Let's make any disaster like it never happened. We love Serve Pro. Years ago, Lauren and I had a flood in our condo. It was an absolute disaster. It ruined the entire space. We had to go and stay in a hotel. And I just remember at that time it being such a nightmare. I wish then that I knew about Serve Pro, because Serve Pro is the #1 choice in cleanup and restoration, and they do construction too. Serve Pro has 50 years of experience helping people recover from disasters, and Serve Pro is here to help 24/7. All you have to do is just call 1-800-SERVPRO. Like I said, Lauren and I had this apartment. It flooded and it was an absolute disaster. We got displaced. We didn't know who to call. It took months to fix, and we were living out of a hotel. Like I said, an absolute disaster, which I'm sure many have experienced. It's not just floods that affect people. There's obviously storms and fires and all sorts of stuff, mold, all the things that we talk about on this show. And ServPro specializes in cleaning and restoring all of these issues. They're faster to any size disaster with over 2,000 locations nationwide. And they don't only do residential properties, they can also do commercial. So maybe you're a landlord and you have a building, ServPro has solutions for you. Like I said earlier, if you have any kind of disaster or household issue, all you have to do is call 1-800-SERVPRO and they'll send over a professional to make it like it never happened. In addition to this, if you don't need cleanup or restoration, they also do construction, like I mentioned earlier. And so they just have a ton of solutions with a ton of different professionals, and they're faster than almost anyone in the business. To check it out, visit servepro.com or call 1-800-SERVE-PRO today. Contact your local ServPro today by visiting servepro.com or call 1-800-SERVE-PRO.
Who did you grow up with together? You mentioned Kanye. Who are the people that are in the same ether as you? And are you guys collaborative? Are you competitive? What's the energy?
Kanye was already like an icon to us.
Already?
Yeah. So I was like a generation after him.
Okay.
My generation was like me, Big Sean, Wiz Khalifa, Mac Miller. Those were kind of like, and there were a bunch of others, but those are like, sort of my class of artists that I was emerging with in that first chapter of my career.
And is there competition or is everyone supportive?
It was pretty much all love between those guys, especially Sean and I. I always felt healthy competition with Sean. I wouldn't be here without Sean. He's changed my life twice in like immense ways. He's kind of like this guy that he'll float into my life and like just change its direction and then float out. I'm like, whoa. So, always for the better. So yeah, with it's just all love. Yeah.
How did you manage?
I think that we inspired each other though. Certainly like you see this guy who was, in your mom's basement with you and you're rapping and freestyling, and then he gets a record deal. It changed my perception of what was possible for myself. And as I'm sure you guys have touched on in this podcast in your lives, your life, I believe, is the printout of your beliefs. If you want to know what you really believe, just look at your life.
So true.
And yeah, right. And so he was somebody who expanded my beliefs. And that internal expansion was just quickly followed by an external expansion. Like when he got a record deal, I knew I could. And 8-9 months later, I was sitting across the table from Jay-Z in a meeting. He offered me a record deal.
That's gonna be weird.
It is because of Sean,
So when you're sitting across from Jay-Z and Jay-Z's offering you a record deal, what's going through your mind in that part? That's gotta be surreal.
I was still a student at Duke. It was the end of my junior year, and by then my music was catching on such that major record labels were taking notice, and some of them were sending agents or A&Rs down to my concerts to meet with me. And so I just had this double life going where I'm a student, but I'm like kind of becoming more popular and famous. And I was taking meetings with different labels. And then it was like finals week. So I'm back at Duke and I'm in the library and I got to write my papers. And like you said, Duke's a tough school, and a lot of my classes were on a curve against just really smart students, man. And most of them weren't living a double life. They were there to study. People from other countries there, like their parents sent them there, like, you're going to study. And so anyways, I'm writing a paper and my manager calls, hey, you got to go back to New York. I'm like, dude, nah, man, I don't think you get it. Like, I got to write this paper. He's like, no, you got to go back. Jay-Z wants to meet you. I said, don't fuck with me, He goes, I'm not fucking with you. Yeah, go back. So I booked a flight. I obviously agreed to go back, but I really didn't think it was actually going to happen. I thought that I'd go up there and then they would say, Jay got busy, meet with his number 2 or number 3 or whatever. That's what I thought was going to happen. So I didn't tell a soul. I didn't tell a friend. I didn't tell anybody because I didn't want to say, hey, it's going to happen, and then have to say, they say, how did it go? And have to go, oh, I didn't meet him, So I just like kept it to myself. And I flew to New York just like on a ninja, man, like on a covert mission. No one knew I was going except my manager, and we went, and it was incredible. And, it was really a story I should tell you before I go in the office, which was, maybe 9 months or a year before I walk into Jay-Z's office. I was in New York with Sean, and Sean invited me to go to Kanye's Glow in the Dark concert at Madison Square Garden. I go to Will call. Sean says, there's 2 tickets there for you. I asked Will call, okay, 2 tickets, Mike Posner. They say, there's no tickets here under that name. So you sure? She picks up another clipboard, flips over the page. There's no ticket. I call Sean. I say, hey buddy, there's no tickets here for me. He goes, okay, don't worry about it. Just come meet me at the studio. I'm at the studio with Kanye. I go, okay. I'm thinking, oh, that's way better than just get the tickets. I get to go. So I show up to the studio and Sean meets me downstairs. We go up an elevator. We walk down a hallway. He deposits me into basically a waiting room next to the studio, and he goes in the studio with Kanye. And I can hear Kanye's album 808's Heartbreak Through the Wall. And that's what he's made. It's not out yet. That's what he's working on it. And then I hear my voice seep through the wall.
Whoa.
And it's a song that I made with Sean called Who Knows. And I'm thinking, dude, this is the moment. Kanye West is listening to my song that I made with Sean. And at that time, it's 4 people in the music industry that could change my life. It's Dr. Dre, Jay-Z, Pharrell, and Kanye. And I'm like, this is my moment. The music stops and I see the doorway. It's an open door and I see a blur of bodies walk by, including Kanye's, including Sean's, a bunch of other people. And nobody says anything to me. And I realize they're leaving me. And, I was like the chutzpah of a 20-year-old me. I go like, fuck that. So I get up and I follow him to the elevator and I get out there and the down button is already illuminated. They're waiting for the elevator. And Sean, before I get suplexed by a bodyguard, introduces me to Kanye. He says, Kanye, this is Mike Posner. He made that song I just played you. Kanye gives me a fist bump. And no one says anything.
Fuck.
So I muster up like all the courage I have inside my little skinny white body. And I say, so did you like it? And he looked at me and he said, no.
Oh God, that's devastating.
And he said, no. And it wasn't rude or at all. It was just honest, which I appreciate because it really lit a fire in me. I got in that elevator and I go, for some reason that could have doused my dreams, but it ignited them.
Do you think he knew that by saying that it would ignite them?
I don't know. I think he has a commitment to telling the truth.
Uh-huh.
And I think he was telling the truth.
And now you look back on that song, what do you think?
Well, that brings me back to Jay-Z's office a year later. I sit down with Jay-Z and I'm nervous and I'm play some music. So just like I got my backpack now with my laptop in it, I take out my laptop and I'm where can I plug it in? There was no AirPlay yet. So I'm looking for his aux cord and it's like, it's all weird. Finally we get it plugged in and I play him Cooler Than Me. And he starts nodding his head like this, and I can tell he really likes it. And we just have a great meeting. It was like 2 hours. I was in there talking for a long time. And then.
What's the general conversation about? Like, what are you guys chatting about in there for 2 hours?
Vision, like
what you want to do?
My vision and the vision he saw for me. He was so insightful, such a student of music. He knew who my inspirations were by listening to my music.
Wow.
He said, I can hear this and this and I think you could make an album like this, but you got to work hard for it and stumble upon it. And the album he said was like my favorite album at the time. It was The Love Below by Andre 3000. And so he was just insightful and he's the man. And he looked at John Manili, his right-hand man. He goes, so what do we do? And John says, I think we do a deal. And I'm like trying to contain my excitement, So we shake hands.
How old are you at this time, quickly?
20, 21.
Okay, so you're young.
Yeah, compared to how old I am now.
No, but
at the time, I was the oldest I had ever been.
No, but still, the reason I ask is like 21, it's hard to contain your emotions that age, especially when you're with those kind of people.
Yeah. I never had a problem containing my emotions. I had a problem expressing them. So, I go back to, before I go back, I'm walking out of the room, shake his hand. I go, something inspires me. And I say, yo, can I play you one more song? He goes, yeah. So I plug my laptop back in. I played him Who Knows, same song. And song finishes and he looks at me and he says, that's incredible. He goes, I can't believe you almost left without playing it. He goes, never forget to play that song.
Whoa.
I went on a plane back to Duke. I go back to the library, write in my paper, check my email. I got a record deal offer from Rock Nation.
Wow.
So it's so interesting that two people who are so successful had completely different perspectives.
Yeah. And also not, right? It's like they're so unique, and artists are all unique.
It's subjective.
Yeah, that's what makes an artist an artist. They have I say, an artist by definition doesn't belong. I don't sing because I have an answer. I sing because I have a song.
Right.
So an artist, yeah, they're an artist because they see things differently. They see things differently than everyone else. And their job is to see beauty and divinity in the mundane and to help others see that through their art.
What song is your favorite out of those two now looking back?
Right now, maybe Who Knows, because cooler than me, I still sing a lot. Who Knows, I don't. It's like not on the set list.
Is it hard?
I've listened to it less times.
Doing what you're doing at 21 and having the success. You said white girls at Duke are singing to your music. Is it hard to have all the temptation of drugs, alcohol, women, or were you just always really focused?
I was really I was tempted by all those things. And really what I was insecure. I truly thought, I never felt like I belonged. And I truly thought that if I became popular and I got this record deal, I wasn't silly enough to think that just the adoration of others would fill me up or make me feel whole. But I was silly enough to think that external success would change how I felt about myself. I thought I would feel more secure. I thought my chest would be out if I accomplished these things. And of course, it just, nothing changed. My moment to moment experience of life was largely the same. These things were really exciting and fun, and my career and the success I had were all blessings. So it's not like I was sad because of them. I was sad already, and I thought, if I went down that path, it would solve these things. And it didn't.
We hear this so much on the podcast.
Yeah.
It's like Tony Robbins talks about the art of fulfillment versus the science of achievement.
Correct.
And it's like you work. So many of us are so driven to think the money and the accolades and all the achievements are going to make us happy. And then when you get to that line and you don't feel happy, you have to look at yourself and I think you have to focus on the art of fulfillment.
Absolutely.
And it sounds like your journey has been a lot of that.
Yeah. Well, it was a blessing. So Tony's got another line I love. He says, achievement without fulfillment is the biggest failure.
Yeah.
It's the biggest failure you can have. And I just love that, I love that line, that distinction. And for me, it was just such a blessing because I got this lesson in what doesn't work for me and what was ultimately a dead end, but it led me to ask, okay, if not this, then what? And the next chapter of my life became about finding things or places inside myself that did change my moment to moment experience of life. And, if chapter 1 was doing what didn't work, chapter 2 is being a student, figuring out, okay, what does, and chapter 3, which I'm entering into now, is sharing what I learned in chapter 2. So that's why I'm here.
When you're at the peak of your success and you've achieved all these different things and you're signed by Jay-Z and you're surrounded by all these incredible, I'm sure there's girls, there's anything you want. Was there an epiphany that caused you to start looking for that fulfillment? Like, do you remember something that happened, or was it just a slow process?
It's a slow process, but it's a process of pain. At first you're like, oh man, I'm getting this success, and then I feel the same, so maybe I just need more of it. So you start chasing more of it, and then get that, and still you feel the same. What up, though? And then really, really life took it away from me. I stopped being successful. My career really hit a very, very cold patch. And I went from, taking my shirt off at the shows and crowd surfing to just having an empty calendar. And I had to figure out who I was when I wasn't famous, young Mike Posner. So it was a lot of that probably started the journey. And also we talk about Sean. He floated back into my life, and I ran into him in the studio. And I remember Michael, he was like glowing in the studio. And it just felt so good to be around his energy. And also simultaneously his career was taking off. And I'm like, dude, what the heck are you doing? Like, what's going on with you? He's like, dude, you got to read these couple books. And they were spiritual books. And I never had a spiritual part of my life before that. And Sean gave me those books, and I read them with an open heart. And one of the first things I read was, probably like a spiritual principle like 101. It probably sound basic to you guys, but to me at the time, it wasn't basic. It was profound. It said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And I just went, whoa, I didn't know that, and that's when I started meditating. And then I just went deep, I got to meet Ram Dass, and then I'm going on all these retreats, and I'm spending time in solitude and fasting and just exploring my consciousness and exploring what would change my moment to moment experience of life. That's what we're really talking about here. When you say fulfillment, we're talking about a state of being now. Not in the future, now. And, as we all know, you can achieve massive amounts of accomplishments in the external world. But if while you do them, you're in a stressed and anxious state, well, guess what? You have like a stressed and anxious life. And so the key is, well, one, you don't have to pick one or the other. So the key is like, okay, how do I achieve what I want to in the external world while being in beautiful state? And that's what my life is about. That's what I'm always working to master, and what I'm hopefully helping others to master as well.
You've obviously, I love the post you did about your song, I Took a Pill in Ibiza, and there's been some press obviously about that. And I think, tell me if I'm wrong, one of the things, or maybe you wrote this or the press did that, like a lot of the things that you wrote in that song are just not true at all, or they're completely counter to your life now. I'm
Yeah,
butchering
I
it.
wrote that.
You wrote
Yeah.
that. Then to now, like why so counter, and what has, like, what's the main fundamental change that you're trying to articulate to people?
Well, when I wrote, I Took a Pill in Ibiza is a song about pain. It's a song about exactly what we're talking about, crystallized into 3 minutes, probably more articulately than I am now, expressing these thoughts of disillusionment, of making it to the mountaintop and not really making a difference in your life. And then, having come down off the mountain, I really wasn't famous anymore. Girls weren't excited to see me when I walked on stage anymore. I wasn't getting offers to do, so it was just a song about my pain.
But that
And
song blew up massively.
yeah, it did. But it's not but I mean, and we could talk about why maybe that is. Maybe the culture was starved for some authenticity amidst like a time in 2010 or 2016 where songs are more, I don't know. And yeah, when I look at my life then to now, it makes me so proud because every lyric in it, I took a pill in Ibiza to show Avicii I was cool. When I finally got sober, felt 10 years older, but fuck it, it was something to do. Like, I would never do that now. I would never take a pill from a stranger because I love myself. I love my body. And especially not to, make somebody else think I'm cool. Like I know who I am now. And so I go down the list of the lyrics in that song, and I'm so proud that they were all honest at the time, and none of them are true now.
It would feel stressful to me to have a hit. And what I mean by that is like you have a hit song and then you're like, oh my God, I have to do another hit that overtops this hit. Is that how it feels?
It can. That's certainly like, there's sort of like an inherent message coming from record labels and agents. And your job as an artist, is to tune that out. And you want to have an internal pressure on yourself to write something better, not necessarily something more popular, because you can't control popularity and reception. You can just do good work.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, and you can do work you're proud of. So internally, I always have pressure. Like, I want to write songs that are better than the ones I was writing 5 years ago. I always want to be developing my craft. And when you have a gift, part of it's like you're born with a gift. I think you have a duty to take care of that gift and develop it and then share it. So you just shift that, you just tune that stuff out. You could play the game, be a businessman, but inside you're saying, yeah, but like, I'm evaluating my work on a different scale. I'm part of a lineage of great songwriters. I look back, Woody Guthrie goes to Dylan, goes to Springsteen, goes to Taylor Goldsmith, goes to Conor Oberst. And these are the writers that impressed me. And some of them never had hits. Some of them never had Grammy nominations. I think would they think this is dope? But ultimately, screw that too. Like, do I think this is great work? And that's all.
I would say the top 5 things that are the most important to me, Solitude is really high up there, and I'm really trying to focus on that. And I think you're the perfect person to have on the podcast. How you mentioned meditation. How has your journey with solitude evolved, and how do you think it's made you better and more zen?
Solitude is sort of like a drug.
Yeah, I know.
It's a drug. My first foray into solitude, I went to a beautiful place in Colorado called the Taramandala Buddhist Retreat Center. I hesitate to say it because it's going to freaking fill up now. But there
How'd you find out about it?
I just started Googling, I wanted to do a retreat. Everyone hears about silent retreats, these different meditation. I wanted to do a retreat because I had an inkling. I had fooled around with fasting. And, if you fasted before, there's a period where you really feel hungry and then you reach a threshold and you go into an altered state of consciousness that really isn't available when you're not fasting. So I suspected, and I had an inkling, solitude might be the same thing. Might follow the same pattern. Like I had at that time spent a day or two alone before, and it felt bad actually. Like I never liked that. I felt dry. My life seemed like black and white, but I suspected if you went longer, there might be a threshold where you would tap into a state that I had never been in before. So I started Googling. I'm like looking for places where you could just do a retreat in solitude. And there really like aren't many. There's a lot where if you join a serious Buddhist Sangha that you can do that, but there's not many you can just do without being in that community, except for this place. I think it's one of the few in the US. Maybe it's changed, but at that time it was really like, I think maybe the only one I could find. And I had to apply. So I applied. They want to make sure you're mentally stable enough to do it. And it was like exploratory in that way. I just wanted to find out what would happen. So I did 7 days the first time, and I've done it 4 times total. The longest I've done is 21 days.
Wow.
No talking.
Sometimes I find like, I'm like, we'll talk to my, like, I'll be have some thought train going, and I might like answer a question out loud, or something will happen. I'll say, whoa. But my voice will sound really loud. So it's not like talking is really not a big deal to me. You know, as a singer, so your voice gets tired of going vocal rest all the time. It's really the being alone is like the defining thing. It's just nobody else there. So you could talk if you want to, but there's no one there to hear you.
When you meditate, do you try to clear your mind? Do you try to observe your thoughts? Do you let them come in and out? Do you have a strategy, or is it just whatever comes up?
Yeah, I've practiced several different flavors of meditation. The base of my practice is TM, Transcendental Meditation, which is mantra based. So if you learn TM, you go to a teacher and they give you a mantra and you repeat this sound that doesn't mean anything internally. And then thoughts come in, and when you notice you're having thoughts, you just go back to the mantra. But I've practiced a lot of different types of meditation, Vipassana retreats and Vipassana meditation, and I'm always exploring other ones. But, you know, really to go back to the solitude question is what I learned as I did more of the retreats, I got older. At the beginning, I was exploring, but I also found while I was on the retreats, I was practicing what I was going to say about the retreat while I was on the retreat. I was basically like doing Instagram in my mind. And I'm like, okay, so I'm only here to show off. I'm only here to have an experience that other people didn't have. You know, instead of getting a gold chain, I'm doing a meditation retreat so I can feel special. So I, like, as I got a little older, realized, you know, that's really bullshit, you know. and on one of my retreats, I read a quote by Thich Nhat Hanh. You know Thich Nhat Hanh?
Mm-mm.
He's an amazing human being. He transitioned out of his body a couple years ago. He was a Zen Buddhist monk, really responsible for us even knowing what Zen and mindfulness are in the West. This guy, Martin Luther King Jr., nominated him for a Nobel Peace Prize. Oh. He's a serious man, beautiful man. And he wrote one of these books that, imagine I'm in this cabin alone. I'm like 8 days into retreat. I haven't seen anybody for 8 days. And I'm reading the thing, and it says, retreat is about re-entry. Retreat is about re-entry. He said, if you go on retreat and you don't come back a better version of you, show up a better member of your community, a better son, a better father, a better brother, you wasted your time. It doesn't matter if God came down, touched you, you had some transcendent experience, you saw visions, you saw light. If you don't come back a better you wasted your time. That was really impactful for me. Because before that, I wanted to have a spiritual experience. I wanted to feel Kundalini energy go up my spine. I wanted to have visions, and I wanted to get higher. I wanted to become more divine. And instead of having a spiritual experience, I really think God wants us not to just have spiritual experiences. God wants us to have spiritual lives. And so while I was busy trying to become more divine, really I needed to become more human. And that was an inflection point. So, the solitude is like training. Because when you're alone, like you say, you examine your thoughts, you meditate. And I noticed I would get upset or frustrated or pissed off, and no one's there. It's me. I'm making me upset, frustrated, pissed off. And so often in life, I'm going through when I'm not in solitude and I feel those feelings, but I blame it on what happened or blame it on somebody else. But on retreat, they're not there. No one else is there. Like if you're ever in any minor state of suffering, it's your fault. It's my fault. So you get very in tune to these sort of patterns, it's called like malware that you have running in the background. And then it becomes a lot easier to shift them in solitude.
Does that have to do, like, not to, because it sounds like such an intense process, but not to dumb it down. No, but is it almost like it's because you can get to a place where you can take extreme personal accountability? Is that like you taking ownership over your thoughts as opposed to blaming the external?
Yeah, exactly. Because there's no one to blame there. I mean, you can blame it, but like really, it's your fault, if you're there. And so it's a lot easier to dwell in these states of presence there. So it's kind of like, it's like training wheels. And then you go home and like Ram Dass said, if you think you're enlightened, go spend the weekend with your parents. Go spend the weekend with your in-laws. And that's the real test. And you come out.
I think
retreat's about re-entry.
We're addicted to the chaos of the inner dialogue narrative that we associate with or identify with. So if we like to create chaos, it's almost like part of your identity. And it sounds like you kind of tried to break that in solitude.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, most of us, I thought like the voice in my head was me.
Yeah.
Then I sit there on the meditation cushion for a few hours and I just watch it. And I'm like, this voice is insane.
Yeah.
First of all, it keeps saying the same thing over and over again.
What was it saying?
I mean, it would go back to some like dude that I got in a yelling match with 10 years ago and just replay it over. And I'm like, dude, we just did this, over and over and over. Or do these doomsday scenarios where like, hey man, we should like definitely do this thing. If not, that might happen. If not, then that might happen. If not, then that might happen. Then that would really be bad. And it's just spiraling. And it's like, this voice isn't me. I don't believe any of the things this voice is saying. And so it's a very deep process because then you're going, well who am I? I'm the thing watching the voice. I'm the consciousness that's aware of my thoughts, that's aware of my bodily sensations, that's aware of my senses. And things start to get a little trippy,
When you were sitting in solitude, did you decide to, I don't even know if this is the right word, hike Mount Everest, climb Mount Everest?
Yeah, we usually say climb.
Climb, okay. We're
Just
not
a brisk hike.
We're not taking a hike.
Yeah.
How does one decide?
It ain't Runyon.
You're not getting an Air One smoothie.
Mm-mm.
How does one decide to do that? Like, how does it even come into your head?
But I came from first me doing the walk across America. So 2019, before I decided to climb Everest, I decided to walk across America. It might sound really random to your listeners, like, why did you decide to do that?
Starting from where?
I started from Asbury Park, New Jersey, but more accurately, I started in the Atlantic Ocean. It was important to me to actually start like
you wanted to start end to end.
Water to water.
Grounding.
Water to water. Yeah, there you go.
I like it.
Yeah. And I walked across New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois.
By yourself?
I posted on social that if you found me, you could walk with me.
Oh, that's
And people
cool.
came from all over the U.S. to walk for a day, sometimes longer, sometimes a few hours. And it's really deep. I would ask them always, why did you come here? And sometimes they were a fan of my music. They wanted a picture. Sometimes they just wanted to see if they could find me, like a strange scavenger hunt.
It's like Waldo.
Right?
Yeah.
But sometimes they came because they had no one else to talk to.
Yeah.
They were high school seniors who didn't know what was next. They were professionals who felt trapped under their own success. They were soldiers who had seen killing and who had killed. And so we would walk together, healing in our own ways. I walked across Missouri during a heat wave. I walked across Kansas. I walked into Colorado. I could just see the Rocky Mountains on the horizon. Went, pain shot up my left leg. And I heard a sound I didn't want to hear. That was shh.
Oh, shit.
And I realized a poisonous rattlesnake just bit me.
Oh.
So long story short, man, I was in the hospital 5 days. My leg swelled to the size of an elephant trunk. I went.
What did you do? What was when that first happened? Did you know what to do to stop the spread of that poison?
Call 911.
Yeah.
Call 911, and so we did. And I asked dispatch because I felt the poison going through me, and I felt myself fading out.
Oh, that's scary.
So it was scary for sure. I asked dispatch, "Am I gonna die?" And the voice on the other end of the phone said, I don't know, sir. So I spent 5 days in the hospital, and then I couldn't go back. I had to heal. My leg was jacked up. So I went home and I've tried a bunch of plant medicines before. Snake venom is the one that changed my life the most.
Oh, man.
I got really hurt, but eventually decided I'm going to finish what I started when I healed. And everyone sort of expected me to just quit. Like, good try, you got bit by a freaking rattlesnake. It wasn't meant to be. But I had hid behind that excuse too much in my life. It wasn't meant to be. A lot of times when we're saying it wasn't meant to be, we're just saying I'm giving up. And I didn't want to, it was a serious moment in my life. The only way for me to become the version of me I wanted to be, to get to the next chapter, I had to go finish the walk. I had 1,000 more miles. There wasn't a podcast I could listen to. There wasn't like a piece of advice a friend could give to me. There wasn't a book I could read. Like, I had to do it. So I went back, and you asked me about Everest. I started to walk, and I got to those Rocky Mountains, and I went up them after the snake bite, and I went down. I got to the other side, and I felt like I had a cape on my shoulders. I'm like, that fucking snake couldn't stop me. Nothing could stop me. I can do anything. And I started to dream about Everest. And the more steps I took, the farther I went on my walk, the more that dream started to transform from a dream into a plan. I say dream either grows into a plan or withers into regret. And so by the time I jumped in the Pacific Ocean, I already had a kind of a plan on what was next, and that was to climb the big one.
How many days in total?
Yeah, how long does it take to walk the entire United
Minus
States?
the the time to recover.
The whole time you're saying, I'm like, well, how long does the whole time, if you disregard the snake bite, how long's the whole thing?
If you disregard the snake bite, 5 months. 5 months and a week.
Fuck.
And when you
I thought it was gonna be much longer.
Do you want to know how bad at geography I am, Mike?
You thought it was gonna be like 4 days.
10 days.
Nah, that's in a car. That's in a car. You could do it in 10 days.
Listen, he didn't marry me for geography.
Hey.
Okay.
One time I took her to Atlanta.
Mhm.
And she's like, "We're in Atlantic in New Jersey." I'm like, "No, wrong."
I do other things. What, when you decide to make this decision, goes into the preparation to not hike, climb Mount Everest.
If you're like me and you run a little anxious, I have just the product for you, and that is the Just Calm and Just Thrive probiotic combo. Ever since I started taking Just Thrive probiotics, and ever since we met Tina Anderson, the founder of Just Thrive, years ago on this show, it has been an absolute game changer for me. I am obsessed with their products. I can go on and on talking about probiotics. We've done so on this show so many times. Everybody should be on a great probiotic. We believe that the Just Thrive probiotic is the best in the business. Did you know they also have a Just Calm supplement? The Just Calm supplement is a game changer for somebody who wants to manage stress and just be a little bit more calm. I definitely need that. For those of you that listen and know me, I run hot, I run fast. Lauren does not. So this product for me has done wonders in just calming me down, helping me pace myself a little bit better. Here's the thing about stress. You might think, oh, I can manage my stress. But if you let stress get out of control, it'll also mess with your digestion, your immune system, your sleep, and a whole host of things. So getting your stress under control, at least for me, has been one of the biggest game changers, one of the biggest things that I've needed to implement into my life. So the combination of the Just Thrive probiotic with the Just Calm is going to do wonders for managing stress. And we believe that Just Thrive has the best products on the market. So if you're ready to take control and live your healthiest life yet, you can get 20% off your first 90-day bottle of Just Calm and Just Thrive probiotic today. Visit justthrivehealth.com and use promo code SKINNY. While you're there, check out all their clinically backed products. Take control today with Just Thrive. Visit justthrivehealth.com, promo code SKINNY. This podcast is brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace is the all-in-one website platform for entrepreneurs to stand out and succeed online, whether you're just starting out or managing a growing brand. Squarespace makes it easy to create a beautiful website, engage with your audience, and sell anything from products to content to time, all in one place, all on your terms. I recently did an episode all about starting a side hustle. Also within that, starting a new business. Whether you're starting a new business or starting a side hustle, it's likely that you need some kind of online presence, which is why we love Squarespace so much. Lauren and I are big believers in owning your platform and not being reliant on third parties. Sure, you want to use all of the big platforms and social platforms to spread the word and get more presence online, but you can't solely be reliant on those third-party platforms because you don't actually own those pages and that content. It's all at the mercy of another algorithm, a third party, which is why we love Squarespace so much, because Squarespace gives the power back to the creators and lets you own your own content, whether that's a website or an e-com channel or an email newsletter. Any kind of online presence that you're trying to build and own online, whether that's your new side hustle or business, Squarespace can help you build it. Like I said, they have so many great product features, whether you're trying to do custom merch, build an online store, build a video collection, create email campaigns. Squarespace has something for everybody. So check it out. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/skinny to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Again, that's squarespace.com/skinny.
I am obviously hugely passionate about skincare. And a lot of you guys message me on DMs or emails and you ask, hey, I have really sensitive skin and I can't find a good product. Well, I have you covered. OneSkin. I had the opportunity of interviewing the founder of OneSkin, and it was wild what I learned. Basically, they have formulated a whole entire line that has soothing ingredients and natural antioxidants. And I've had the opportunity to try all of their products multiple times, and I'm just a fan of what they're all about. So they created something that's free of over 1,500 chemicals and preservatives. These are things that make your skin red or irritated or itchy. All of their products are designed and safe for sensitive skin. It's founded by an all-women team of scientists, and their products are backed by extensive lab and clinical data. I love this too because not only are they designed for sensitive skin, but everything is based on research. I personally would start with their eye cream. I have always been on the hunt for a good eye cream that doesn't cause milia, those little white dots under the eyes. And this is an eye cream that I have used so many times and it's never caused milia. And I think the reason is because everything is designed for sensitive skin. There's no irritation. And I just feel like it hydrates my under eye without giving me those little bumps. So if you have an eye cream that's giving you those milia bumps, check this one out. It's a really good one. The eye cream on their site, highly recommend. They also have a face cream that's amazing. For a limited time, you can try OneSkin for 15% off. Just use code SKINNY when you check out at oneskin.co. Give your skin the scientifically proven gentle care it deserves with OneSkin. Go to oneskin.co, use code SKINNY.
So I never unpacked. I finished the walk and I didn't go home, like it was 2 weeks later, my body was pretty jacked up. I let it rest a little bit. And then I started climbing, and I eventually met the man that became my coach, Dr. John. And he said, I asked him the same question. How do I go from a guy who walks on flat surfaces but has never held an ice axe, never climbed a mountain, never worn crampons, to a guy that belongs on Mount Everest? Because I didn't just want to climb Mount Everest. I wanted to belong there.
Yeah.
And he said, Mike, train for climbing mountains by climbing mountains. So that's what we did for a year and a half.
Yeah, that's good advice for anything.
Exactly. 3 years, 3 times as long as my walk was, I climbed mountains with John. We climbed 71 mountains. We climbed mountains in Colorado. We climbed mountains in Wyoming. We climbed mountains in Ecuador. We climbed mountains in Pakistan. We climbed mountains in Mexico, wherever we could go, because it was a pandemic.
Selfishly, what do you think the most beautiful places are? I'm sure you've seen a lot, but
it's hard to mess with Nepal. It's really hard to mess with Nepal. I mean, the Himalaya is, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. The Himalaya is the Himalaya, man. It's a spiritual portal.
What do you have when you're climbing all these mountains? Like, I need snacks. I need my ionic water
I don't think there's
bottle.
hair and makeup there, Lynn.
Yeah.
No, I don't need hair and makeup, but I need like sunscreen in my visor and like what do you have? How much can you bring in this? Are you wearing a JanSport? Like, what do you do?
It depends on the mountain.
Okay.
Yeah. So, if you're doing something that's one day, you're going to have, you try to be fast and light, because the longer you're out there is a dangerous thing. So you're always balancing between having more gear, more rope, more food, more water, but then you're heavier. So you're slower. And being slower is a risk factor in and of itself. So we will typically try to be fast and light. That's how we would, that was our style. We would try to carry less and be faster. But yeah, it depends on the expedition. If it's longer, you're gonna have a sleeping bag. You're gonna have and it depends how cold it is. So I got really good at reading weather reports and understanding, what that meant I needed and what it meant I didn't need. So I wasn't slow. And
are you hunting?
No.
No hunting.
No.
So you bring your own food.
Yeah, our goal is to climb the mountain and then get off the mountain and get home safe.
And in your regular diet, are you vegan? Are you what are you carrying in your backpack?
It's not the healthiest diet, because you need food that's light, and also you need food that doesn't freeze. So when it's really cold, can you still bite into it? Huh. So there's certain types of bars that, we learn they freeze. You can't eat them. So, and then a lot of dehydrated meals. So you have backpacking meals are these food that come in a bag, and the water's taken out of it. It's dehydrated. It's very light. And then you have a little stove. On Everest, you'd melt snow. You melt snow in the stove, boil it. You could add water to the dehydrated meal. And
what's the longest stretch of time?
It's not like the best diet for sure.
What's the longest stretch of time to climb up and down? Maybe Everest was the longest, or was there a different one that was longer?
Everest, okay, is like an expedition. So it's a little different than, the training hike. So you're not home for 2 months. But you set up what's called a base camp at the base of the mountain. At base camp, things are more comfortable. It's almost like you might be there for a few months. So bring a lot of stuff in there. You'd bring more creature comforts and leave. You wouldn't climb with them, but you leave some stuff at base camp. And at Everest base camp, they use yaks and they use helicopters to bring stuff. So at base camp, I had a guitar. I had I had stuff. I'm not climbing the mountain with the guitar, but
should tell everyone you did.
No, to stay in integrity.
Yeah, I was just playing my guitar, climbing Everest.
And so, yeah, it just depends. So the actual expedition to Everest for us was 2 months.
Wow.
But the summit push was more like a week.
Do you have a phone when you're doing this?
Yeah, I had a phone. The phones freeze. So we use GoPros. And when I say freeze, they don't like turn to ice, but they like you take them out and you go these really low temperatures. You take your phone out to like do a video and the battery will go. If you have it out for 30 seconds, you watch the battery go from like 60% to 20 just in 60 seconds.
And then how do you charge it?
Well, you don't really need it, first of all. So one thing people do if they want to use the phone, a lot of people, like I brought you want to like take a picture on the summit. So if you have GoPro or phone, you just keep it like, you have a bunch of layers on, right? But you keep it like on the inside. So like the closest to your actual body where it's hot. But then when you take it out, you gotta be quick. And charging it, I think I brought a charger to camp too, but then you don't like is it saying like ounces become pounds. So every little thing you're carrying, it's cost you time, could cost you your life.
You know what would go viral for you? Not that you already haven't gone crazy viral, but you should do. Okay, so I do this thing where I'm like, what's in my bag? And I'm like, oh, here's my lip gloss, and here's my little wallet, and this is my I don't know, eyeliner. You should do a what's in my bag to hike Mount Everest.
Yeah.
And you should literally walk us through and show us, because to you, maybe it's a little bit more normal because you've been around it, but I feel like people would find it fascinating.
I would find it fascinating.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think I should do the video, and then the things I say that I brought should be all your things.
Okay. Yeah.
10 things I need them out. First off, my lip gloss.
Yeah.
Number
tape.
2, my eyeliner.
Eyebrow brush, mouth tape, a phone charger.
Here's my
Absolutely.
sun visor.
Yeah.
I think that it'd be cool to see every little tiny weird thing that you brought.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Well, I'm sure there's
You're
a
probably
massive audience just for that kind of stuff that are like super into the gear to do that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
insecure men. That's the audience, dude.
When you
It's kind of like we were talking about
Insecure
watches
men,
when you first came
small penises,
we
trying to
don't-
climb
when you
big
first came
small
in-
mountains.
penises aren't allowed on the podcast.
in. No, we were joking earlier, but you first come in and you say, "Oh, it's watch," and you like a guy gets a watch and he thinks all the girls are like, "Man, that's a sick watch," but it's mostly just dudes high fiving.
No, dude, same thing with Jordans.
Yeah,
Your
yeah, same
sneakers.
No,
thing.
it's so funny when a guy gets a new watch. This is how they drink at dinner. They go like this, they go like this, and they're like, and I'm like, we get it, like we got it. And then they'll like itch their ear, and they're like itching over here.
But Lauren,
Yeah.
could you say the same thing
The
about
pictures are
women
so,
with bags and rings? It's like, this is my new bag.
Whoops.
No, when someone gets
Oh,
engaged, they go
I
like
need-
this.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I was FaceTime my girls in New York today. I FaceTime and I shared my screen. I was showing her a watch, and she was just like, I do not give a shit. She didn't
That's
say
cool.
that, but I watched her eyes glaze over. Like, she went, oh.
That's cool. I mean, I think that's cool.
It is cool. I
Well,
think
it is
if she
cool.
was like massively into watches, it might be a little weird.
I'm massively into watches because of him.
Really?
Yeah.
You
I
caught
am-
the bug.
I
I
think
got the bug.
she got educated about it.
I got educated.
It's a cool little like subculture.
Yeah.
Well,
I like appreciate him is more what I
Yeah.
should say.
I
Yeah.
think it's a cool, like, what I think, as you get deeper into it, I think like it's just like collecting anything. Like, it's kind of like, well, if you had the choice of all these things in this range, like, why was it that one over this one?
Yeah,
Like,
it says something about you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
First of all, just like a little side tangent. How is it to date you when you appreciate solitude so much and you appreciate like, hiking mountains? Like, what is that like? Is your girlfriend, fiance, wife,
Girlfriend.
girl? How
Yeah.
is that for her? I want to interview her.
Well, she wasn't my girlfriend at the time.
Okay,
But yeah,
but you appreciate
she'd be a great
solitude.
interview.
I bet it'd be interesting to hear her perspective on you.
She's incredible.
Does she give you space to be with your thoughts?
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
good one.
And I think she needs that too. So I try to give her the same gift. And this is why I said earlier, solitude's like a drug. Because I
Yeah.
feel like it's easier to be very peaceful when you're alone because no one's there. So what you want to use it as a, like, retreat is about reentry. You want to use it to come back in your life. But you want to need it to be happy.
Yeah.
So for me, like, I think my next retreat that I do, spiritual retreat, probably wouldn't be a solitude. I'd probably go to a hostel and do the opposite, like where I have no space, where I have like just people all over me. And And because I feel like I'm pretty good at being alone. I want to get better at being bothered, having people in my grill.
It'd probably be a challenge. I think it'd be good for your mental toughness.
But it sounds like
Absolutely.
the end goal is to just be able to be in any environment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That takes work.
Yeah. At the end of the day, like we're all trying to create agency and sovereignty. So over our own lives, we don't want to be going through life blown about by the vicissitudes of our own emotions or what happens and just find ourselves wherever that takes us. No, we want to feel like, hey, I'm in control of my emotions. I'm in control of my life. Not saying I'm perfect. Not saying I never feel sadness or pain. But for the most part, I live my life in a beautiful state no matter what happens externally. And yeah, that is the goal. And that I believe that goal is attainable. I've certainly changed I'm not saying I'm perfect, because I definitely am not. But I've certainly moved my life more in that direction. Like, yeah, when I listen to Ibiza, so it's like, it feels like I was a different person then.
Before you go, tell us.
Anyone could do that. Sorry.
Anyone can do that. And you could say that again, please.
Anyone can do that.
Before you go, tell us what your goal was with making that TikTok. Did you know it was going to go that viral and affect so many people? Because, people were sending me, I got like 10 different people texting me that video. Like, it was impactful.
Mm.
Did you know it was going to do that? Did you mean for it to do that? What's the aftermath of that?
You talking about the one where I was writing about Ibiza?
Yeah, you showed the juxtaposition about how you did this, and then how you've changed your life and evolved it.
No, I didn't know. I was just really reflecting on it myself. I was like, oh, this is interesting. I was celebrating my 36th birthday. I wrote that song around my 26th birthday, and I said, wow, like life has really changed since then for the better, and I wanna acknowledge that. And so I just was writing. It's always like this with me. I don't know.
It's natural.
These like, I'm sort of jealous of these like songwriters. They have like, I knew it was gonna be a hit. Where that's never how it's worked for me. I just write from my heart, and most of what I write is not very popular. I've written 1,000 songs, written a book of poetry. I'm writing a book now, and every once in a while I have these pieces that just like really connect with a lot of people. And anytime I have tried to do that when I was younger, I guess never worked. And anytime I'm just creating from inspiration, sometimes it does. So it's more an offering, it's just like God or inspiration is putting this idea in my heart, my soul, and I'm going to get it out. I'm going to share it. And then the rest really isn't my business.
What I love about your whole career, though, is like life is really reps, right? Like, I love weightlifting, and I'm obsessed with weightlifting right now because weightlifting is reps. You just put the reps in, and what you've done and built with your career, with the Solitude, with the climbing, it's all reps. It's just putting the work in over and over, and something sticks. And I think people need to hear that, because a lot of people don't realize how many reps you have to put in to do something really profound.
Yeah. And life reps, things that change your experience of life, like spiritual growth in life, they take longer. So you start doing the right thing, you start thinking the right things, positive thoughts, you start having more faith in your life. Guess what? Your whole life doesn't change in 2 months. You don't see that muscle grow as fast as you might if it was your bicep or your quadricep. And so to anyone listening to this, just keep going. Keep going. This is just the beginning. It's very easy to think and evaluate life based on what's already happened. Like I said earlier, we're all the oldest we've ever been. Mm-hmm. So we feel like we're old. No, this is just the beginning. You have no idea. I mean, when I look at 6 years ago, I was 30. I had no idea my life would be what it is now. No clue I would have walked across a continent. No clue I would have climbed the tallest mountain in the world. No clue I'd be sitting here talking to you guys about these experiences that hopefully are bringing inspiration and opening and transcendence to others. I hope, I pray. And so, if you're in pain right now hearing this, just keep going, because every moment of breakthrough in my life has been preceded by pain. So your pain, get excited, man. Something good's about to happen.
And you might get bit by a rattlesnake along the way.
Let's
You
hope
just
not.
have to get back up and get back up there.
That's right. That's right.
Where can everyone find you? Pimp yourself out. Tell us what you're doing, what you're working on, how we can follow you.
But then, all my stuff's just under my name, Mike Posner, Posn, like Nancy, ER. And what am I working on? I'm writing a book right now about my walk.
Cool.
And in some ways, it's harder than the walk. It's going to take me longer than the walk took. And I have a new album coming this year.
Rad.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So it's all good.
I'll be one of those white girls listening to it dancing.
Yeah, you will. Yeah, you will.
Thank you, Mike.
Mike, thank you for coming on.
Hey, God bless you guys.
I knew this was going to be a home run, right when I told you.
Courtney, you got to shout out Courtney. Thank you for making this happen.
Love you, Courtney.
Love you, Courtney. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.